Rabbi, can you hear me?
We hear you, Sam.
GM. Good morning, everybody.
Rabbi, can you hear us? Rabbi? I think Rabbi speak. What should I do? Rabbi, let's everybody wave to him.
Morning.
All right, guys, good morning. You can hear? Can't hear?
I hear you, Rabbi.
We hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. I think, Rabbi, I think you're not hearing us.
How about now? Can you hear?
No, we are hearing, but can you?
Good or not good?
It is,
We're
but
good.
you are not
Okay,
hearing
Hassan.
us, Rabbi.
Whew. All right. Wow, today's going to be amazing. Mamish. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Shabbos Daf Nun Tes. We're going to conclude the sugya regarding a bell. And as we have been learning that when you have a bell that was made to produce sound, a bell mit a clapper. So the chiddush that we learned in the Braisa is, as even when the clapper falls out, nevertheless, since it was already a keli, it was susceptible to becoming tamei. It retains its tuma status. So says the Braisa, and the Gemara is trying to analyze why would that be so. It was made for a certain function. It no longer can serve that function, so it should lose its tuma status. So we had three answers, just quickly reviewing it. Abaya had the approach that since the clapper in a bell, returning it is something so simple that hoyel shehedyet yachal lahachziroi, that's why it doesn't lose its tuma status. That was Abaya. Rav on top of Daf Nun Tes approaches, is that true? The bell doesn't have a clapper, but the bell was made to produce sound. You can take this bell without the clapper and bang it on another keli, and it still will then produce sound. So you can't say that it lost its function. And Rabbi Yochanan, which was the last answer that we left off with, says, you're right, if Taka lost a clapper, it cannot produce sound, but you can use it for another function. It wasn't made for that. But since, for example, you can take the bell and turn it upside down and fill it up with water and give it to a child that only needs a little cup, so it's still a functional keli, and therefore it retains its tuma status. And the Daf Nun Tes is gonna have many great halachas regarding tuma and tara. And what we will see is that Rabbi Yechanan did not say that it cannot be, and indeed he did not offer that answer, because Rabbi Yechanan is of the opinion regarding tuma and tara by kelim, that if a keli was made for a primary function, the only way it's going to retain its tuma status is if it can still be used me'ein malacha reshayna. In other words, for its primary function, and not since you can use it as a cup. Rabbi Yechanan will not subscribe to that view, and we're going to figure out exactly regarding our sugya who said what. We're going to conclude that the answer that we had until now in the name of Rava was given by Rabbi Yechanan, and the answer that Rabbi Yechanan we had recorded in the name of Rabbi Yechanan was really given in the name of Rava. In other words, it was Rabbi Yechanan that says that hoyel v'ro'u lahakish al gaba cheres, since you can still produce sound, that's the reason why it's still susceptible to becoming tummy. We're going to have a little bit of, we're going to define the Ir Shal Zav. We're going to review the story of Rabbi Akiva. We're going to read a little bit from the Darim. Really, the story of Rabbi Akiva and his wife Rachel is both in the Darim and in Ksubas Daf Samach Beis. We will actually record from a Braisa a three-way machlekes regarding a woman, whether she's allowed to walk outside on Shabbos with this Ir Shel Zahav. If we'll have time, we'll read a little bit in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Bechlal regarding jewelry today. Today, in our world, women do walk out b'Reshus Harabim, even when there's no Eruv. With jewelry, we'll see where that comes from. We're going to be learning the halach of wearing certain tiaras on Shabbos. We're going to have some history as what happened after Rabbeinu HaKadosh passed away. Certain events took place that ultimately led for Levi to move to Babel. We're going to learn about the power of a tzaddik. And we're going to start the sugya of a signet ring versus a non-signet ring, as we have this all also mentioned in the Mishnah in the beginning of our Perek. All right, with all that, let us start where we left off. We left off on Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph, the fourth line from the top of the Amud. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol na'eh b'dvarim.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so what do we have? We have the bell made to produce sound. The bell lost its clapper. The Braisa says it still remains in the status of a keli, and therefore it's susceptible to becoming tamei. Also, if it was already tamei, it retains mamash its tuma status. Why? Because it's still functional. You can use it for a cup. No, Rabbi Yechanan doesn't subscribe to that. Even if it could be used for some sort of new secondary use, it's not enough. It has to be functional for the reason it was made. And how do I know that this is Shitas Rabbi Yechanan? Because we learned in a Braisa, this Braisa is based on a pasuk in Mitzayda. Regarding Tumas Midrash, it says in the pasuk, V'chol kli, and any utensil, Asher Yeshiv Olav V'gaimer. So you have a zav. What's a zav? A person who has some sort of unnatural seminal emission. A man who has it once has the din of a person who's mitzvah zera. If a person has it twice, either on the same day or in one day subsequent to the other, adjacent to the other, he has a din of a zav. Even before he becomes a major zav, one of the chumras of a zav is that anything that he sits upon, if that was made to be sat upon, it will be as tamei as the zav. And b'chlal, when it comes to the dinim of tuma and tara, so you have the item that's conveying the tuma, the mitamei. You have the other item that's acquiring tuma. And normally the rule is that the conveyor conveys it to the acquirer with one notch down. So if the conveyor is an av and it touches something else, that something else becomes a rishon, which is one notch down. In the cases where the rishon could be metama asheni, it goes a notch down. However, there are exceptions, and one exception is a zav. If a zav sits on a chair or sits on a blanket, sits on a mattress or sits on a rug, he sits on something that's meant to be sat upon, then he conveys tuma, but not the zav is an av and that item is a rishon. No, that item becomes a av like the zav. That's the din of tumas midras. Now the question will be, what happens if the zav sits on something that was not primarily meant to be sat upon? So you have a barrel. The barrel is meant to store food. Now you can turn a barrel upside down or put the cover around the barrel and sit on it. So says the Braisa, Yachol, you would think that if kafa sha'ah is a measurement, but we are referring to a keli that has that size, a barrel that can contain a saw, and the zav sits on it, or kafa tarkaf means a half of a saw, a smaller barrel. And again, the yashav around the zav sits on it, you might think that yehi tamei, that barrel would acquire tumas midras. So Talmud loimer, that's why it says in the pasuk. Let's look inside the Bach. V'choil hakeli asher yeshiv olav hazav. Expound Chazal misha meyuchad liyeshiva. An item that was made for sitting. That is where we have the din of tumas midras. Yatzazeh. When it comes to a barrel, people normally store food in a barrel. Now, what's going to happen if the zav is sitting on the barrel and you need to get food out of it? You will have the right to tell the zav, "Excuse me, sir, stand up. I need to take the barrel." No, since the primary function of a barrel is to be used for storage, he's using it for a secondary function. It won't be included in the din of tumas midras. Now, parenthetically, don't think the barrel is tahor. Of course, it's not, because the zav is an av. Anything that he touches, a zav is an av is matama adam and kalim. Not only oichlin or mashkin. So if he sits on the barrel, he's matama the barrel on the level of addition because he touched it. But it doesn't have the din of tumas midras. Atkan the braisa. And now we're going to learn a machlekes amoyroyim regarding details of this braisa. So says the Amoyra Rabbi Lazar that this concept of amoyd v'nasim elachtenu, right, is not only applied in the case of the braisa, it's also applied in another scenario, as we will explain. Says Rabbi Lazar, b'midrasos, the din that we just learned, what is considered, what could acquire tumas midras, an item that was made to be sat upon. Here is where we say, as we just learned, amoyd v'nasim elachtenu. However, now before we go weiter, the truth, let's look inside the Rashi. Rashi expands this whole concept of amoyd v'nasim elachtenu, and Rashi says that this applies. You can keep one figure inside the Gemara, but let's go on Rashi. Rashi, we're beginning 3 lines under the Gemara. That Rabbi Lazar says that the Midrash we say amoyd v'nasim elachtenu, bein zakt Rashi b'tchilas tuma le'inyan shomarnu. Both regarding the law that we just learned in the Braisa. He sits on a barrel, it won't acquire midras, it won't be enough, because people have the right to tell the Zav, get up and I'm taking the barrel because it wasn't made for you to sit upon, I need to use it for what it was really made for. The Einoi mitame mitachirik, it doesn't acquire mitame midras to become an avatuma, like we mentioned, it will become a rishon, but not enough. And now Rashi goes weiter, bein b'soif tuma. Now we are applying the concept of amoyd v'nasim elachtenu in a whole different case. Same words, whole different application. What will be the case? Great case. Keep going. Gimel al gimel. Guys, remember, right? Danny talked at the beginning of that sugya. 3 tfachim, not 3 etzbois. If you have something that's 3 tfachim by 3 tfachim, a mat, place, a rug, which is taka, also made to be leaned on, to be sat upon. People b'chal used to sit on rugs in those days. And shenitmu midras. It already became tummy, and it became an avatuma because the zav sat on it. But now v'nechliku, my friends, means now the rug was cut in 2. What happens now? Now, a rug, it's no longer a rug. We also learned to sugya that if it's made out of wool or linen, even if it has only 3 finger breadths, remember that? 3 by 3 finger breadths, it's still considered a beged. People used to use it for a patch. V'nechliku. So you would think that maybe since each of these halves are a keli for begadim, why would it lose tumas midras? We don't say that. It loses tumas midras. It's tournament on midras. You know why? Because the question is, if a keli breaks, is each broken part still good enough for its original function? And if we can say amoyd v'nasim elachtenu, meaning you don't use this for a rug, you can use it for something else. But if you can't use it for a rug, the tumah that it already acquired, because it was a rug, is lost, goes away. Oh, What was the Malachtenu Rishayna? It was Ra'oi Liyeshiva. And now each half is not right for sitting. And like Rashi points out, even though truth be told again, each half of 3 tfachim is way more than 3 by 3 etzbois. It is still a keli for other dinim. But since it's not now as functional as it was, or it's not functional at all for its original purpose, so it loses the tuma that it only acquired because it was made to be sat upon. A half is not made to be sat upon. So holds Rabbi Elazar. Keep your fingers just already in the 9 lines under the Gemara in the second Rashi, which will be explaining Shittas Rabbi Yechanan. Now let's go back inside the Gemara. So what Rabbi Elazar was machadesh was that he used the concept of not only to the case of the Braisa, but also to the case that we just spoke out. Okay, an item became tamei, it broke. Each half is still functional for something else. But we say, no, it doesn't retain its tuma because you can't say on each half, amoid v'nasim alachtenu. And then, we're still in Rabbi Elazar. However, ve'ein oimnim betumas meis, amoid v'nasim alachtenu, says Rabbi Elazar. What does that mean? We have to read inside the Rashi. He says that Rashi, getting 9 lines from the bottom, ve'ein oimnim le'inyan avatuma, that what? Something became tamei from a mace. It was in contact with a mace. It was mahil al hameis. Something has tumas mace, and now it broke. Now it broke. I'm reading inside Rashi. Each part is still functional for something else, but not me'ein melacha d'shayna. Does it lose tumas mace? Says Rabbi Elazar, it does not lose tumas mace. Is machmer. When it comes to tumas midras, then we say that if we can't apply amoid v'nasim alachtenu in both of these cases, it loses either its susceptibility for tuma or it actually loses its tuma. By tumas meis, if it already became tummy and it broke, if it's b'chlal not a keli, it's not functional. You had a bowl that has a hole, kimoit tzedimoin, for example, then it's pure because it cannot serve as a bowl at all. Even a pomegranate will go through the hole. But when it comes to another article, if it broke, but it's still functional for something else, even though it's not functional for its original function, says the Amoira, Rabbi Elazar, it retains its tumas meis, vited in the Gemara, but Rabbi Yechanan says, no, even by tmei meis, we use this concept of amoid v'nasim alachtenu, and if this item that already became tummy, now it broke, it cannot serve its original function, it loses its tuma. And this is clearly against the bell with a clapper. You're telling me, Rabbi Yechanan, that the bell now can be turned upside down and used as a cup? So what? So what? It was made to produce sound, to be mashmiya koil. It's not functional as mashmiya koil without a clapper. So how can Rabbi Yechanan be the one explaining the Braisa why it remains tamei? For Rabbi Yechanan, it should not remain tamei based on this reason. And the Gemara says, you're right. Muzman zagen epach kamaisa. The din that we just learned right now, the Braisa with Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yechanan stays. You know what has to be flipped? We had Abaya, Rava, Rabbi Yechanan. Let's take Abaya out. Rava and Rabbi Yechanan has to be switched. Rava was the one that says that the reason why the Braisa says that this bell, even though it lost its clapper, retains its status of tuma because it can be used for a cup. Rava doesn't care if it cannot be used for the original purpose. Rabbi Yechanan was the one that says, no, it was made to produce sound, it lost its clapper, but you can knock it on a clay cheres. You can bang it on another utensil. Then it will produce some sound. That's why the Braisa says it's tummy. Now, you have to change one of these two Rabbi Yechanans. So this is a classical Gemara. Today the Gemara, umay chazes the afchat kamaisa maybe apach basraisa. And that's going to be good because even though Rabbi Yechanan by Midrash, everyone in the says regarding Midrash that if you can't say amoid v'nasim alachtenu harishayna, you lose the status. But we can say it's like Tamei Meis. Maybe that's only a chumrah, that's only a kula by Midrash. By Tamei Meis, if Rabbi Yechanan was the one that said that it does not lose its status, then also we wouldn't have this contradiction. So the Gemara says, no, it can be because Chash Ma'in and Leila Rabbi Yechanan, I know from another location, from another din, that Rabbi Yechanan subscribes to the concept, the boi, it needs me'ein melacha d'shayna, and if not, it loses its tuma status. Where do we know that? So here in the parentheses, it says the Tanya, because the Masayda Shasa says that it's really a Mishnah, right? Tanya's a Braisa, the Tanan, a Mishnah in Kalim. What's the Mishnah in Kalim? Sandal shel behema shel mateches. If you have a metal shoe made to be used for an animal, and as we have been learning, that any article that's made only for an animal is not going to be keli enough for it to become tamei, right? Even though we learned, for example, the bell of an animal is tummy. We explained that when we made the sikkum, because you put a bell around the animal, either for you to show off the animal, for you to sell it better in the market, or for you to hear the animal when the animal gets lost. It's made also for a service and a function for a human being. Something that's made only for an animal is not going to become tamei. Nevertheless, sandal shel behema shel mateches is an article that's susceptible to becoming tamei, and indeed it becomes tamei if something tamei had contact with it. So the question is, hold on, if it's purely functional for an animal, that won't explain why it's tamei. Akash on the Mishnah and Kalim. And on that we have three answers. Okay, coming back, the third one will be Rabbi Yechanan. First answer is given by Rav. Amarav, you have a shoe for a behema. If there is wartime and you need to drink water quickly, you don't have the luxury to go look for a proper keli. It's some sort of shoe made out of metal that if you want, it can be used to drink water. And sometimes, at least b'shas milchama, people actually use it for water. It wasn't made for that. This is not malachli d'shayna, but it's used for that. Rab Chanina goes more. He says, "Roi lasuch by shemen b'milchama." And if you need to anoint yourself with oil and you need to put the oil in a keli, sometimes people put oil in this shoe. So again, sometimes it serves a person. And if a soldier is running away from a battle, sometimes if he has no other option, he will use these shoes that were made for animals in order to allow him to run al koitzim, al habarkanim, on top of thorns, on top of thistles. In other words, it was made as a shoe. It has to be functioning for a person. But you see, Rabbi Yechanan holds it has to be me'ein malacha d'shayna. It was made as a shoe. Shoe for behema, shoe for a person is still me'ein malacha d'shayna. But Rabbi Yechanan does not subscribe to the fact that since a person might drink water out of it, a person might drink water out of it. That won't be enough according to Rabbi Yechanan, because since it's not me'ein malacha d'shayna, we don't care. So here you see that Rabbi Yechanan always subscribes to the need of me'ein malacha d'shayna. So he must have been the one that explained the reason in the Braisa why a bell without a clapper retains its tuma status, because hoyel v'roy la'kish hoyel gavacheres, that which we originally had the Rava is really said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. And before we conclude, we have these three approaches in the Mishnah and Kalim, and the Gemara is pointing out a practical difference according to each shita. My bein Rav Chanina, whether it's roy lishas by mayim or whether it's roy lasach by shemen, what's going to happen if this shoe is pasha disgusting, right? It's old, it's soiled, it's hak zu brachen, and then the thing is, water people would not drink. Water is something that you ingest. Oil, even though, yeah, we know that everything gets absorbed through the skin, it's not the same thing. People will still use it for oil. People will not use it for water. In that circumstance, is that shoe something that's still susceptible to becoming tamei? That will depend, Rav or Rab Chanina. And my bein and bein Rabbi Yechanan Rab Chanina kebenayu the yakir. Yakir means here heavy. In other words, if a shoe is extremely heavy, then you can't flee with it. You can't run away with it. It's going to slow you down. You would rather get cut than get caught by the enemy. Masha'enkin for shemen, it's still usable even if it's very heavy because you're not running with it. All right. Now we are referring back to the Mishnah on Daf Nun Zayin, right? The Mishnah spoke about an Eir Shel Zav. We already mentioned the story of Rabbi Akiva and his wife Rachel, but this is the Gemara that we'll learn inside. That a woman may not go out b'Reshus Harabim, the Eir Shel Zav, and really we mentioned in the intro, we're going to have a three-way machlokes Tanoim about it. In our Mishnah, we're speaking about items that midin Torah a woman may go out because it's going to be classified as a tachshit. Elamah, there's a fear that she might take it off to show it to her friend, and she won't put it back on, but she's going to walk with it, holding it, and she's going to carry it That's the Isur Midrabanan according to the Tanach of our Mishnah. So first of all, my Be'ir Shalzav, a city of gold, what does that even mean? The last line in the Amid. So Rabbi Bar Chana, in the name of Rabbi Yechanan says, Yerushalayim the Dahava. And then we already spoke out when we learned the Mishnah. It's really a machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. Rashi in the Mishnah says it's some sort of brooch that has on it the engravement or the protrusion of the skyline of Yerushalayim. But it was a piece of gold. It was a gezunta piece of jewelry. According to Tosfos, it's some sort of crown, something that a woman puts in her hair. And we're going to learn Shitas Tosfos. It's going to fit better with a Gemara in a Darim that we'll read in a moment. And now, Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis, Kida Avad Le Rabbi Akiva L'Devisu, Mamish that which Rabbi Akiva made for his wife Rachel. He made for her this ornament known as a Ir Shel Zahav. Many people call it Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. And now let's appreciate how you have to put Gemaras together. Nowhere in Shas does it say that Rabbi Akiva made for his wife clearly a golden. When the Gemara speaks about the story of Rabbi Akiva, doesn't say that he made for her a golden crown, but it's understood from that story, and that's why the Gemara quotes it over here. Now, this is also spoken about in Ksubas Daf Samach Beis. Whoever would like to look there can look there. We're opening up here in Adarim Daf Nun. If you remember, in Adarim Daf Nun, at the end of the Amid, spoke about where did Rabbi Akiva get his wealth from, and this Bechal, and where did this Tana get his wealth from? Where did that one get his? With this phenomenal stories over there. But I'm going to the top of the Amid. 3 lines on the top of the Amid Adarim Nun. So the Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva is Kadash Le Berate the Kalba Savua. Rabbi Akiva gave Kedushin to the daughter of his boss, who was Kalba Savua. And Shama, Kalba Savua, and Kalba Savua, we know the story in Gittin, right, by the Churban Habayis, why was he called Sal Kalba Savua? But Kalba Savua was so upset with the Shidduch, because Rabbi Akiva then wasn't Rebbe Akiva, he wasn't even hardly lettered then, and Adra Hanomi Kol Nichse. He made a neder not allowing his daughter, Rachel, and his future son-in-law, if they go through with marriage, to benefit from his wealth. All right, and that was sad, but they got married anyways. And Ozla is Nasiva, they got married Bisifsa in the winter. And Vahavagonu Beitivna, and being that they were unable to benefit from the wealth of the Shver of her father, they slept on straw, like the poor people, and have a common naked leitivna min mizaya. Rabbi Akiva in the morning would take straw out of her hair. And Amar Lan, he told her that, if I would have had the means, the financial means, instead of me taking out like waste straw from your hair, I would place in your hair a Yerushalayim Dedahava. That's the statement we have in the Gemara. And then the Gemara goes on how Elyahu came and he knocked on the door and he asked for straw. He was so poor that he doesn't even have straw. And Rabbi Akiva tells his wife, well, I thought we were bad and put things in context. Look at that guy doesn't even have straw. But being that the Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva told his wife that if I would have wealth, I would make for you this crown, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. That's why it's a given that after the whole Maisa, as we know, and Rabbi Akiva ultimately became wealthy from many different sources. So if he made that commitment, for sure he kept it. That's why the Gemara here says, like Rabbi Akiva made to his wife, even though this detail is not mentioned, not in Ksubis nor in Nidarim. Okay. Now, Tana Rabbanan. Abaraisa generally speaks out more details, brings more opinions, as will be this Braisa. Won't only have the sheet of our Mishnah that a woman may not go out be'ir shel zav midrabanan, but on the rabbanon, right, the top line in Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis. So say isha be'ir shel zav, a woman may not go out b'reshus harabim. Let's go with Tosfos in the story in the a crown in their hair with this ir shel zav. But the imi yatzisa, if she did go out, wow, chayeves chatas, it's worse than a rabbanon. She's violating carrying. If she went out because she forgot the Shabbos, she forgot you can't carry on Shabbos, she brings a chatos. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Which is the sheet of our Mishnah. Take loy seitze. But the im yatzitza, she's pturim and a chatos because it's isur midrabanan. She might carry. And here we have the third Tana, Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Yoitza isha be'ir shel zav lechatchila. A woman is allowed to wear this golden crown, not violating any even derabanan. End of Braisa. Gemara now analyzes. Rabbi Meir holds masui hui. It's considered a bona fide burden. And as the Tosfos speaks out, that being that this was normally not used as an ornament means I'm doing something to adorn me, to make me look better. This was such a chunk of gold, people only wore it or primarily wore it to advertise how wealthy they are. It's a gewaldige concept. They wore it Pasha to show, look how wealthy I am, that I can afford this piece of thing that costs $500,000. But people did not wear it for adornment purposes. And that's his nuance of the way that Tosfos Rosh explains, Shitas Rav Meir. If it's not to beautify you, it's only to advertise how wealthy you are, it's not called a tachshit. Interesting. V'Rabbanan, back in the Gemara Savri, no, it's a bona fide tachshit. And like we have in the Mishnah regarding all tachshitin, there's the fear, Dilma, Sholfa, she might remove it. Why will she remove it? Umachvele, to show it off. But now that she already removed it, she has it in her hand, she's not going to put it back on and then walk. But va'asya, la'asuya, she might walk when it's still in her hand, she's carrying it. For Rabbi Eliezer, why is he so lenient? This is a very important concept. Somebody he holds that man darko lemeipak be'ir shalzov. Who goes out with such an expensive piece? Let's go even like the Chachamim. Let's call this a tachshit. Only an isha chashuva. Only a very dignified, a very noble woman, a very wealthy woman. And the isha chashuva loy mishalfo machvia. This concept of taking something off to show it is beneath the dignity of a fancy woman. Oh, she doesn't mind people looking at it, but she's not going to take it off to show it. Gewaldige concept. And therefore, we're not afraid. Women that do that cannot afford this Ir Shalzov. All right, I'm going to read the Shulchan Aruch inside, how this relates to nowadays, but let's read another shtickle Gemara. Kalila. Kalila is some sort of tiara. Rashi says that a tiara is something that they wore on their foreheads. And there were two types of kalilas. There was a tiara made out of gold or silver. It was just a metal like crown or a metal plate on the forehead. And then you had a kalila that was made out of material. It could be, Rashi says, silk, expensive material, but it had on it, it was studded either with gold or with little pieces of jewelry, pieces of diamonds. It had shtikalach stuck on to the garment, to whatever the garment was made out of, and we'll see how this plays into the question. So kalila, this type of tayara. Now, it's very generic. We don't know whether it's the metal, the gold one, or whether it's the material one. Rav was machmir, Rav asar, and Shmuel shari. And now we have to discover exactly what type of tayara are they arguing about. So says the Gemara in the first version. De aniska. Aniska means hammered out metal. If it's made out of metal, meaning metal was precious metal, it was a beautiful adornment, gold or silver. Kulamale pliga da aser. Even Shmuel will say it's us. So she might take it off to show it off. Ki pligi, where do they argue that aruksa? If it was a garment, if it was a material that had on it studded gold or precious stones, here is where you have the machlokes. It's not as chashuv as the pure golden one. Mar Sava Rav still holds aniska ikar, that the shtikalach of gold or pieces of jewelry that's studded, that's glued on, that is the main part of this adornment. So it's a golden adornment, it's a precious stone adornment. Yeah, invited, the woman might take it off to show it and she might end up carrying it. Umar Sover and Shmuel holds now, if it's not completely 100% a precious metal, if it's a material that has some gold on it, na aruksa iker, and therefore it's not considered that chashuv. If it's not chashuv, it's not a real tachshit. We're not afraid. A woman is not going to boast with something that's relative to other tayaras, not that expensive. So is the first approach. However, Ravashi Amar da'am lekulam de aruksa. If it's on a material, if it's a material tiara, the kolamalei pligi the shari, even Rav will hold a woman is not going to take it off to show it off. Ki pligi, where do we have this argument? Only the aniska if it's made out of hammered out gold or silver. Mar Sava Rav holds, okay, Dilma Shalfu Machya. She might take it off to show it off. And if she does so, she won't put it on to walk. She might walk first. However, even in the case where it's purely made out of a precious metal, Umar, meaning Shmuel, Umar Savar, Man Darko Lameka Bikalila, Who wears, again, it's similar to an Ir Shel Zav. It's a piece of gold. It's a piece of silver. So who is able to afford such a thing? Isha Chashuva. And again, the same concept that the Isha Chashuva le'shofa umachviya. What we see over here, which is very important, is that sometimes there's a gzeira, like plug, can't go out. Sometimes women take it off. No one can go out with it. Here you clearly see that this gzeira medarabanan is more custom made. And if a woman who can say, no, I don't do that, I don't take off my jewelry to show it off because I'm a isha chashuma, lachatchila, there was no gzeira on her. Sometimes by the Rabbanans, we don't apply this, but we see this in Chazal, in the Gemara, that we do differentiate whether this person will take it off or this category of people will take it off or not, and we'll see how this plays into halacha. And let's stop over here right now. And I'm opening up Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch because someone mentioned this question when we began the Perek. Like nowadays, even though we live in Los Angeles, here there's a great Eruv, but we are familiar. Women that we know go out, b'reshus harabim. If you're going to say it's a reshus harabim, which is a whole other topic, and they don't take off, they're not inhibited wearing jewelry on Shabbos outside. So this is discussed in Shin Gimel, right? Hilchos Shabbos. In the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, we're going to Seif Chav Gimel. It's a long Seif, and I'm reading Mamish in the middle. First, Alter Rebbe speaks about the reason. He's trying to understand why women today go out with jewelry. So he speaks about the whole topic, that it's really a karmelis. He quotes the Sefer HaTruma that we quoted. According to him, there's no real reshus harabim. Okay, then he goes, then he says, well, other people don't agree with that. So he writes, it's a limud schus. I mean, not that Alter Rebbe is saying it's so lechatchiladik, but what's the limud schus? That shalei osru hatachshitin, that this whole perek, this whole issue of forbidding women to go out with jewelry is ela b'yameim, only in the times of Chazal. Shaloi hoyu hatachshitin mitzuyin kol kach l'roiv. It didn't have as much jewelry as women have today, and therefore v'loi hoyu miskashtois bahem ki im b'Shabbos. They only wore it on Shabbos. And v'lachein, I'm reading inside the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, hoyu davar chidush be'eneim. Ooh, wow, was something that they hardly ever wore. And therefore, v'hoyu marais zuluzu, they would show off one to the other. Masha Enkin says the Alter Rebbe that bisman hazeh shemitzuyin tachshitin l'roiv, that so many people have jewelry, and the yoytzin behem gam b'choil, and the women wear jewelry even in the weekdays. The end of a chidush b'shabish sheteiro oisam lachabroisel. Okay. Then the Alter Rebbe writes weiter here that all of this is only for our takana. All the other topics that we're learning about, that something might fall off and you might carry it before you put it back on, that's noyeg today the way it was in the times of Chazal. But all of this is based at the fact that you already find in the Gemara, for this woman, for that type of jewelry, that's a isha, she won't take it off. That opens up a makom to be matir, as many women indeed are noyeg l'kula, and they go out with jewelry b'reshus harabim nowadays. Okay, back
Rabbi, according to the Alter Rebbe that holds maybe a Carmelist that we don't apply to Shus Harabim, wouldn't we have a question? Why don't we just say simply that we don't have Gzeira to Gzeira?
Okay, so I want to just, whoever didn't hear, the speaker is asking like this, that let me word it differently. As we mentioned, and as we'll keep on learning, that many tachshitin, that a woman may not go out b'reshus harabim, she may not go out even in her yard. She may not go out in the yard. Why can she not go out in the yard? Because even though really you can carry, your yard is not even a karmelis. Your yard is in a reshus hayachid. Once you have it in your yard on you, you're going to forget because you're wearing it, you're not carrying it, and you're going to go out to the reshus harabim. So the issue of a karmelis was never made. We never make a problem for a gzeira l'gzeira. It's only about going to the reshus harabim. And then we make one gzeira. And sometimes that one gzeira is, don't even leave your house. Your house doesn't go to the reshus harabim. I don't care. If you're going to leave with that jewelry on your body, worn, leaving your home, you're going to forget that you're wearing it, and you're going to go all the way to the reshus harabim, and then you might take it off. Okay.
So quick side question. You mentioned that your yard is a reshus yachid. That's only if it's fenced in?
Okay, very good. Just Avram was pointing out, listen, when I said our yard is a reshus yachid, not so quick. So earlier in the Masechta, does it have to be fenced in or closed in from 4 directions, or is 3 directions enough for it to be considered a reshus hayachid? Many people today have a reshus hayachid that's open to the reshus harabim, and that really goes into the dinim we'll learn in Eruvin. So you made a very good point. Let me say like this. Midoiraisa, our front yards, in most cases, has a din of Rishus HaYachid. That's if it's at least closed from three sides. Okay.
If it's open,
So then let's learn that more. We're going to learn Eruvin. We're going to learn very clearly all of the Rishuyas, the classifications.
that's next a month and a half from now.
We have over here, the Machloikas Rav and Shmuel by a tiara, and then we have a Machloikas in the Gemara. Where do we apply the argument? By the metal one or by the garment one? And now we're going to have a story that's just going to, so to say, prove that Rav Ashi's version is correct. Don't forget, guys, that Rav is the Machmer. So listen to this. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Chanel Rav Yosef, Befeirush Amratlon, in the name of Rav, that Kalila Shari. So what did Rav say? He's not even asking a question. He's just pointing out, you see, Rav was matir. No, it must be that Rav Ashi is right. That what, if it's made out of pure metal, then everyone will hold if it's made out of metal. What did we just learn from Rav Ashi? Lakula. That if it's that Rav only is machmir by metal. Shmuel says Isha Chashuva, Rav says, but if it's made out of material, even Rav says you're allowed to take it out, and that fits. In other words, you quoted that Rav says it's mutter because the normal tayara that was made out of a material, even though it had beautiful stuff studded on it, she's not going to take it off. Okay, now comes the story, and it's good. These stories are good. Sipuri tzadikim are always good, but there's a lot of history here, which is very important to know. Amru lei l'Rav. They once told Rav, you should know that Asa Gavra Rabba, that there was a great man. They meant great because when they heard him speak, they knew this is a great man. And Aricha, he's tall. They gave him a description. And he came to the city of Narda. So this great tall man came to Narda. Umatlan, he was limping. That was the key. He was a man that was limping. And Vidarash, everyone saw this is a Yida Talmud Chachem, a Yida Tzadik. They gave him the pulpit, and he gave a whole Hilchah Shabbos class. And amongst other things, he said that Kalila Sharum. For just to know, Rav, we just established this was not an affront to Shitas Rav, because we're following Rav Ashi in Rav. Rav was only machmir by the hammered out metal. We were speaking about with the garment Kalila, and he paskin taka the way we know now. Sai Rav and Sai Shmuel hold that you're allowed to go out with it. Now Amar goes to Rav. Rav said he deduced who this is. Man Gavra Rabba Aricha de Itla. Who is a great man who is tall and who limps? It must have been Levi. It must have been Levi. And how do we know it must have been Levi? So Rashi reminds us that we have in Sukkah. Let me just find this. Right, Sukkah Daf Nun Gimel. If you remember, there's different types of bowing down. One bowing down is called a kida. That when you're standing up, you go all the way down. That means your fingers, your thumbs touch the ground, or your forehead touches the ground, and you stand back up only by using your thumbs. And Levi wanted to show how it's done. And when he did it, something became dislodged in his back. And for the rest of his life, he limped. That's the Maisa in Sukkah. So when he heard tall man limping, that must be Levi. Now, first he decided it's Levi. And now he deduced something more. If Taka Levi came out to Babel, he came to Narda, it must be that sadly, Rabbi Office passed away. And Rabbi Chanina became the Rosh Yeshiva, which is like this. So let's, before we're going to reread this in the Gemara, Rashi is like a third from the top of the page. If you look on the Messiah Sashas Sukkah Nun Gimel, it's right over there. Nach Nafshi de Rabafis. So Rashi reminds us the story that we have in Ksubis, Perek Hanoisei Daf Kuv Gimel, that we say that the Chishachav Rebbe, when Rebbe was passing away, that's the story of Ashkafta the Rebbe. Amar Rebbe said that Reb Chanina Bar Chama should become the new Rosh Yeshiva. Rebbe passed away. However, Reb Chanina did not want to become then the Rosh Yeshiva, very similar to what we learned at the end of Brachas, all right? Why? But why did he refuse? Shohaya Rebbe Office Gadol Mimenu Shtei Shanim, and the Bach adds Umertzah. Not because he considered Reb Office greater, but he felt that since Reb Office is older, it's not respectful for him to become the head. And indeed, the Yosef Rebbe Office Beresh. Reb Office became the Rosh Yeshiva. Continues Rashi. But on the other hand, Reb Chanina did not want to become subordinate to Reb Office. So what did he do? No, he didn't want to take the position, but he didn't want to be a Talmud there. So the nichnas lebeis midrash. He didn't enter that base medrash. What did he do? He sat outside. Umishum kivoi doi yashav Levi etzloi. So Rab Chanina is sitting by himself. So Levi became, for the subsequent years until Rab Apis passed away, he became the chavrusa of Rab Chanina, who Rebbe said should be the Rosh Yeshiva, and he would never leave such a chavrusa. Now coming back into the Gemara, so Rav is saying, "Oy Gewalt, Rab Apis passed away," and now they finally executed the will of Rabbeinu Hakadosh, which is for Rab Chanina to be the Rosh Yeshiva. Just like Rab Chanina did not want to be subordinate to Rab Apis, you see, Levi was like chavrusa with Rab Chanina. Now that Rab Chanina became the Rosh Yeshiva, he almost learned from Rab Chanina. He's not going to become the Rosh Yeshiva there. He's not going to become a Talmud there. He were equals. So he went to look for a new teacher in Bavel. So that's why Rebbe is explaining the Ka'asiyachi came to Nardo. A whole deduction. And the Gemara is challenging this way of thinking. Okay, Levi was the Chavrus of Rab Chanina. Levi came to Nardo. How do I know it's Levi? Because he was tall and limping, and he was a great man. How many great tall men limping? Only Levi. But hold on. Maybe if he was in Eretz Yisrael because he was the Chavrus of Rab Chanina, maybe Rab Chanina passed away. Maybe that's why he came to Bavel. And the Rabba face could the koi. And the same thing. He learned with Rabbi. You have a good chavrusa. You lost your chavrusa, so he came here. A good question on Levi's deduction. So answers the Gemara no. That he said Rab Chanina shachiv. If Rab Chanina was the one that passed away, Rav knew Levi le Rab Apis mechav ha'ikoyefle. He would have entered the yeshiva of Rab Apis. And don't forget, the reason why he didn't, we read the Rashi, is because he did it as a respect to Rab Chanina. He didn't want Rab Chanina to sit by himself. If not for that reason, Levi would have taken a gun and become a Talmud of Rab Apis. So if his Chavrusa passed away, he doesn't have to be Machabedim anymore, he would have gone into the yeshiva. And furthermore, this is such a beautiful Gemara, it cannot be that Rab Chanina passed away. You know why? Because Rabbeinu HaKadosh asked for Rab Chanina to be the Rosh Yeshiva. Now, Rab Chanina, out of respect of Rab Apis, delayed it. But if Rebbe wanted something to happen, it's gonna happen. The Rab Chanina loisagi de loy malach. It's impossible that he should never be the king, never be the Rosh. You know why? Because the Chihava, Naicha, Nafsha, the Rebbe. Because the Rebbe was passing away, Amar, he requested Chanina, Rab Chama, Yosef, Berosh. And it says regarding Tzadikim, the Sigzar, Oimer, V'yakim Lach. And you will make a plan and it will succeed for you, right? We have other chazals. Tzadik goyzer and HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekayim. So if Rebbe wanted for something to happen, it's gonna happen. And Rab Chanina had to become the Rosh Yeshiva, and indeed he was right. What happened? Rab Apis passed away. Rab Chanina became the Rosh Yeshiva as was foretold by Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Levi is looking for a new teacher, and he came to Nardo. And the first thing they did to him is they gave him the covet to give a drasha, and he understood the sugya of Kalila, that Sai Rav and Sai Shmuel held with what he said because he was speaking, like we mentioned, with a material tayara. Weiter. Darash Levi ben Nardo, that's clear. The Levi of Gedarshan to Nardo, Kalila Shari. There was a consequence to that. Up until that drasha, people thought there's a machlokes Rav and Shmuel, they don't want to go into it. No women walked out with tayaras. But after he gave that drasha, people accepted it. And nothing esin va'arba kalila mikulam nardo. From the whole city, there were 24 women that were able to afford such an ornament. Even though we're not speaking about the real expensive one, we're speaking about the shmata studded one. Okay, but 24 women walked out. Now Nardo was a trader city, and most people didn't have that much finances. But the Gemara says that Darash Rabba Baravua, the first white line, in the city of Mechaiza, they were wealthy. That Kalila Shari, the Nafku Tamnis, Kalila B'chadim Mavai, that in one alley, 18 women walked out with this Kalila. In other words, in one alley, one street had almost as much wells as the Gansa city of Nardo. Okay. Amar Rav Yudah, Amar Rav Shmuel. Just a Lahoyer Stam. Amar Rav Shmuel. Normally we don't say that, right? Normally it's Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, or Amar Shmuel. So who's that Rav Shmuel? Indeed, some of the Achronim say it's a mistake in the version. Anyways, we're reading what it says. Now, Yehuda said in the name of Rav Shmuel, Kamra. Kamra is a ornamental belt. So it's a buckle, but it's gold or some sort of precious metal. Shadi, you are allowed to walk out. There's a big machlokes rishonim. Let's learn the approach that if a beged is also an ornament, let's learn this pshat, there's no problem with you walking out on it. What's the issue, my friends? That you might take it off to show it off to your friend. Yeah, you're going to take off your belt? Many people will take off the belt, the pants will fall down. Or whatever, it's a beged, no one takes off the begadim in the Rishus Harabim. Okay, weiter, ikeda amri. Other people say that the aruksa that we're speaking about, this type of kamra is it's a garment that has gold or precious stones studded on it. And the Amar of Safra, and why will be? In other words, it's a garment belt that's also ungepacked with golden or little stuff. And the reason why you are allowed to go out with it, just like a person can go out with a talis mizuhavis, if you have gold on your garment, you can go out with it. Because again, people don't take off their talis. It doesn't mean a talis, a mitzvah. It means a garment, an outer. People don't get undressed in the Rishus Harabim. They could know that the belt is the aniska. It's pushed hammered out gold. It's a belt buckle. And a melech, a king can go out with gold if he has golden garments. Like we explained, any garment, even though it's gold, people don't ungarb themselves in the Rishus Harabim. Amar Avina l'Ravashi kamra ilave hemyona mai. Hemyona is agarta. What happens if a person is wearing a belt on top of a belt? And the way we are learning this Gemara, what did we mention? People don't take off their garments because you'll take off your belt. Your garment will fall down. If I have a belt directly under it, nothing will fall down. My pants won't fall down. I have a belt already. So can you put this ornamental belt directly on top of a common belt? So Amalei Trey Hemyone Ka'amrat. No. How can you wear B'chlal two belts? Forget about the fact that you might take it off. Today, Hemne Ka'amrat. Look inside the third Tosfos. He brings over here the way, because Rashi gives various interpretations, and he's quoting the one that we mentioned, that B'chlal is Asur, as he quotes from Rashi. Avol today, Hemyone Zel Gabzeh Asur. The Leidame Lekame Malbushin. Tosfos just wants to point out, you're not allowed to wear a double belt, one on top of the other. It doesn't mean I can't wear a shirt and another a coat and a bigger coat. It's not like kama malbushim sha'adam loivesh b'shvil hakur. If I wear a coat and I'm still cold and I put on another coat, no one calls that carrying. I'm wearing a beged and I'm wearing it for a purpose. Ich bin kalt. So many begadim, you may wear one on top of the other. Avo, the end of the story was today hemyane ma'anoyesh. First of all, it's not functional. It doesn't benefit you. And number two, the ein derech lachgoy. That's another important point. Not you have hana, nor is it the style. That's mamash halacha, because like we mentioned, the jackets we mentioned a few daf ago, can I wear my jacket in the Rishus Harabim when there's no eruv if my hands are not in the sleeves? If that's the derech of wearing it, it could be it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay, just a concept. No one then wore one belt directly on top of the other, nor belt-wise, it doesn't provide any benefit. It's not a functional benefit. That's why you forget about the fact that it's a tachshit. You might take it off. Even if you won't take it off, you're not allowed to wear one belt on top of the other. All right, that's the Gemara over here. Back in the Gemara, another topic. Amar Rav Ashi, Hai Rasuka is a corset. It's some sort of wide strap material that goes directly around the body. Can you wear it? Now here, it's not an ornament, it's a beged. What would be the issue? These types of begadim sometimes will fall off. And that's part of our pedic. It's not only about a woman will take it off to show it off, something that might fall off may not be worn, because sometimes a woman won't put it back on, b'rishus harabim, she'll carry it. So this, Rasuka, he says it depends. If it has little strings, that helped the person fasten it tightly around their body, it will not fall, then it's a beged. But the Elyahu, if it doesn't have this additional strings that help it stay on the body, then indeed, usher, not because it's an ornament, but because it might fall off and you might carry it. referring all back to the Mishnah Daf Nun Zayin, katla. Katla normally means a choker. That's why katla means a killer, because it chokes you. So what does it refer to? My katla, minakta pare, a crumb catcher. We learned this Rashi above, that fancy women would put on a bib when they ate. They catch the crumbs, that the crumbs should not fall on the beggar. Remember, and then they would fasten it around the necks to make them look like they have a double chin, because, oh, then she'll be more beautiful. All of this, that's an ornament. She can't walk out with the bib because she'll be so proud of her bib, she'll show it off to her chavert. Okay, different world. Nizamim, nose rings. What is nezem? Nizmayaf, she can't go out with a nose ring. Right? And we're going to start the sugya. A tabas that has no signet may not be worn. This is not implying that she could wear a ring with a signet. No, the opposite. A ring with a signet is asan midayraisa. A ring with a signet is not ornamental, it's functional. A ring without a signet, oh, that's a tachshit. And midayraisa, she can take a go with it, but that's in the Mishnah, she might take it off to show it off. So holds our Tana. Says the Gemara, infers, implies the Gemara, indeed, our Mishnah is basically implying that if there is a signet on it, it's not only ornamental, it's halachically going to be viewed as a functional tool, then chayeves, because it's considered carrying. Alma laf tachshahu. Hold on. We have a contradiction from a Mishnah in Masechtas Kelim. Again, tumantara, tachshite noshim tameim, as a rule, that ornaments, tachshitim, jewelry of a woman are susceptible to becoming tummy. And the Mishnah there in Kalim goes on to enumerate the Elam tachshite noshim, what's considered a tachshit, katlois, chokers, nizamim, earrings, the tabois, and rings. And the Mishnah says, right, the tabois, ben sheyesh oleh choisam, ben she'ein oleh choisam. That's the contradiction, but let's finish the Mishnah. Nizmei ha'af, a nose ring, end of Mishnah. Clearly, we are considering even a ring mitach choisam, a tachshit. Answers the Gemara. Now we're going to have a few answers. We're beginning this right now. Ve'omar abzeiram. A little bit, the is a little bit unusual, but that's the gear so we have over here. Normally this will be without the vav, right? But anyways, for Amar Abzeido like Hashem, our Mishnah that holds that a signet ring is not a tachshit, asur doiraisa, chayv chatos, follows Rav Nechemia. And the Mishnah in Kalim, even though there is a chaysam, we look at the ring, we don't look at the chaysam, it's defined by the ring that follows the sheet of the Rabbanon. Where do we have the machlekes? Rav Nechemia and Rabbanon, de Tanya. What state that Bryce is speaking about a ring, she meaning the ring. If the ring is made out of metal, and the chaysam, the signet, is made out of almoig. We spoke that out. Almoig is a very fancy wood. Who cares, metal or wood? We care, because there's a rule, pshute kle'etz is not makabel tumah, which means that metal, even if it's flat, even if it doesn't have a receptacle, an area in which you can put something in and then take it out, we're not speaking about a ring. That's not called a receptacle, because the hole goes through and through. A receptacle means that on one side there is the material to hold. So pshute metal is makabel tummy. Pshute kle'etz, a ring is considered pshute kle'etz. It's round, but it's flat. There isn't a clay kibble. There isn't a base kibble. So therefore it's not makabel tummy. So how do you define the ring that is metal and wood? Is it wood, not tummy? Is it metal? Yes, susceptible to becoming tummy. So here's the sheet of the, here we go. If she is made out of metal and the signet is made out of almoig, then it's tummy. Why is that? Because we don't define the ring by the signet, we define it by the ring. It's metal. He shall almoig, but if the ring is made out of wood, the circle is made out of wood, even though chaysma is mateches, to look at the link the Gemara is making. They were learning about tumantara. Here we're speaking about tachshit or not tachshit. But if we look at a signet ring, if we look at the ring part of it, a ring is a tachshit. If a ring is a tachshit, then she's allowed to go out with it. That's the Mishnah in Kalim. Our Mishnah that says that if the ring has a signet on it, she may never go out with it, because when we look at a ring, it's defined by the signet. Then let's go. Rabbi Nechemia says no metame. Metame meaning that a wooden ring with a metal signet is tame because it's defined by the signet. By a ring, it's going to be classified depending on what material is its choisam made out of. And
So metal ring would be the opposite? The metal with the wood?
Clearly, that if you would have a metal ring with a wooden signet, Rab Nechemia would hold that it's not susceptible to becoming tamei because it's a wooden keli. And now let's hop in just another few articles boiled by a yoke. So you have bars and you have pegs. Some of them is metal, some of them is out of wood. Also, the question is whether it's pshute kliates or it's pshute klemateches. Halech achar sim loinov, go after its pegs. Let's go. If the pegs are wood, it's not makabel tummy. None of it. If the pegs are metal, even if the bars are wood, it is makabel tummy. Daf sama. The koilov, my friends, is some sort of display board that's wide at the bottom and narrow on the top. It's a board that has many nails stuck onto it. So if you're selling articles that can be hung from a peg or from a nail, right, and you would stand in front of your schayra, so you're selling pocketbooks, you would hang them up on the nails. So the ikir, so to say, the board is wood, shute kliates. The nails upon which you're hanging your schayra is made out of metal, or vice versa. Says Rab Nechemia, you go after the nails. Halech achar mas meroisav. Vaited besulam in a ladder. So again, you have the two side bars, two side poles, and then you have the steps, right? The rungs. Halech achar shili voisav. Go after the rungs. Arse is a balancing scale made out of many parts. Halech achar shal shloisav. Go after the chains. The Chachamim disagree with every single one, because the Chachamim say that hakoil hoylech achar hamamit. Everything follows the portion, the part that provides support. So let's go. The ring, I don't care if there's a chaysim, it's supported by the ring itself. We follow the ring. When it comes to the yoke, you have to know how a yoke works. What provides supports for the pegs? The bars. It follows the bars. By the ladder, what supports the rungs? This we know a ladder. The side bars. So it goes after the sidebars. When it comes to the display, same thing. What the nails are connected to the display board? It's the board. By the scale, the central beam is that which provides support for everything. Coming back over here, again, this is a link. We're going to continue the sugya, God willing, tomorrow. That just like for Tuma and Tara, Machlekes, Chachamim, and Rab Nechemia, Pasha defining a ring. Is it defined by the signet? Then it's not a taksha. The signet is for work. It's a functional part. Is it defined by the ring, by the maimed? Then it's considered a taksha. Lekula, if it's a taksha, then at least midraisa, you could go out with it. Just to conclude, there are so many stories with the Rebbe. Couples went on shlichus, and the wife many times was not given proper kavod, and she felt, all the attention goes to the husband. He invites, he does this, he does that. No one is noticing her. And the Rebbe asked this couple, when you walk into a house, Begashmius, what's the most important part of the house? What would you answer? Whatever you would answer. After they gave their suggestion, the Rebbe says the most important part of the house are the foundations. That's the word. But the foundations, no one even sees. Just wanted to point out that he told the couple that in the times of Golus, people don't see the emes. And he spoke about the concept of a woman being the akeres habayis, because that's the emes, that in the home, even if she's modest and we don't see her and we don't hear her, that's the iker. Hakoil hoylech acher hamaymed. God willing, to be continued.
Rabbi, quick question about if Reb Yehuda Nasi said that he wanted this Reb Chanina to be the Rosh Hashiva, why would they put this other Ilfis guy as the Rosh Hashiva or whoever?
Because they knew that Rabbeinu HaKadosh is going to get his will. Reb Chanina was smart. Reb Chanina said, I want to live longer. Rebbe wants me to be the Rosh Hashiva. I'm going to be the Rosh Hashiva.
That's the story you talked about a couple of days ago.